What's up, everyone? This is BigPowner, and today I'm going to be going over the stuff that every single player that wants to make the most currency and run the smoothest should be aware of. I've seen, I'm sure pretty much like every content creator's gone over the new tree for skills. However, I watched a few of them. And I don't necessarily agree with most of the stuff that I've heard. I kind of have a little bit of a different take on it, and the main reason why I have a different take on it, well, is for a few reasons. But the biggest one is because our Kirac mods is something that I think are really important. They would be like our Xana mods. So we're going to go ahead and go over my take on the tree and what it is that I plan to do early, and then what I plan to do to transition later. I'll talk about all the stuff that I'm going to do, and then also the other stuff that I think is going to be really good, and then some good like niche stuff that you'd more have to focus on if it was what you wanted to do. So let's first go over the mods. Um, Obviously, we're going to have the Fortune Favors the Brave first. And then we've got Abyss. I'm not really paying much attention to that. It's just not not that great. Um, you could do some early Steigen farming or something like that, or I know you can buff up the XP in there and stuff like that. But honestly, that's not what a lot of people are going to be interested in. Probably the things that are going to be the most interesting on here is going to be the Fortune Favors the Brave, Ambush, Harbingers, Ritual. Like those are the money spots, and early they are going to be the most currency generating things as far as mapping. So stuff that you can do to increase your currency every single map that you're running. Fortune Favors the Brave is going to be like that thing that you should probably start pumping right away. To tie into the Fortune Favors the Brave, we do have this, the Shaping the Valleys. This little setup right here is going to be really important because it's going to give us a chance to get higher map tier drops. And then this bonus for pumping Fortune Favors the Brave is just going to be really good. 10% quantity, 10% rarity, 10% pack size. That's just going to be really strong because also the Kirac mods are pretty much all good. Abyss being like the only dunce one. Which is kind of like, you're paying 3 chaos and you're going to get it sometimes, and it's only worth 2 chaos. That's going to wind up happening. The reason why I'm setting up my tree the way that I'm setting my tree up is because I want to be able to get the most potential out of what I'm possibly going to be rolling from when I first get Fortune Favors the Brave all the way to, when I get to a place where I'm like, all right, this niche farming or like Legion or Breach or this boss farming specifically is really profitable, so I'm going to change around my tree. And obviously at that point, since I've been making good currency, it won't be a big deal to spend 2 regrets for each point that I'm removing and replacing. um, so yeah, and I do think regrets are going to be. I think it's going to be way cheaper to restructure your atlas because you can trade 2 regrets for 1 point change on here. Um, but I do think that regrets are going to be a lot more expensive than usual, and the reason for that is going to be because a lot more people are going to be having to respec, because there's so much changes just to characters. They killed a lot of like the go-to builds. I mean, for myself, they basically killed every single build that I've played in the last 3 leagues. Um, some of my old builds might have some life back in them because of the changes, but like all the builds that I've been playing pretty much, they've just completely, like, the new structure of the atlas, the new, just everything is kind of like killed a lot of the stuff that I was playing. So a lot of people are jumping into new stuff. Like I'm jumping into a new build. Um, so, am I going to probably, even though I put a bunch of time into my POB, am I probably going to wind up moving some stuff around? Probably, yeah. Obviously, also I have my POB plan to not have cluster jewels start out. I know there's changes cluster jewels coming, and I haven't seen all those changes. They haven't even released the full tree, so I kind of have like an idea of what I'm gonna do, but we're gonna see. Uh, anyways, I think the regrets are gonna get used a lot more, so I do think they're gonna be more expensive than usual. But I don't think it'll be impossible to afford to restructure as long as you don't just completely mess up and you're not making anything. So for starters, getting up here, getting into this area. By the time you start pumping Fortune Favors the Brave, you should have these. These should be things you're doing anyways, because getting one tier higher is going to be how you get progression anyways. So that's going to be just basically stuff you're going to want. Eventually, you could get to a place where you might wind up dropping these points like super late. But probably filling it out first is going to be the focus, and having stuff that's going to help you progress is going to be the focus. So there's some early stuff. A free essence for each one. Strong boxes, essences are going to be two of the things. Harbinger is going to be the third thing that I'm going to be focused on, and the fourth thing is going to be rituals. The reason why I'm going to be going for rituals, it's kind of I'm kind of going to be hunting for those larger items. And I'm going to be investing pretty decently in there. I want those big drops, and I think that ritual is going to wind up being um, a consistent, fairly large drop mechanic to have in here. Uh, the reason why is because we've got the re-rolling 2 times here, and we pick up some extra chance for better rewards. Up here we have the 4 altars every time, which I'm going to want to fill this out early. Obviously, you don't have to fill this out early because I'm basically going to be filling it out early because I'm going to have an increased chance to have rituals. And then also once I complete Kirac, it is the last one to unlock, so this necessarily isn't the most important thing for you to go for early. Like the ritual bonuses aren't necessarily going to be the most important thing, but I am going to be picking up extra chance for them to spawn. And if I'm going to have all these points and this other stuff, obviously I want the best chance for them to spawn. But having that 4th altar every single time is such a big deal. Normally that's like the rarest category of mods on a watchstone, and now you can just pick it up in your tree. So I'm definitely going to pick that up pretty much every single league. I've winded up getting that watchstone just because it's so strong, because it increases the guaranteed amount of altars by a third, because there's 3 of them and you're adding an extra one. So that is the reason why I'm going with altars. The payouts that I'm talking about, we have the crown is going to be a super expensive base. You should make sure that you're duplicating it. Um, before selling it, not fracturing it because then you can't change it, but duplicating it by splitting it with einhar, because then you can still craft it or whatever, and then you can sell 2 of them, or maybe people will pay the extra value for it to not be split. Maybe you don't have to do that, but those are going to be big drop items. I remember last league, you know, 2, 3 weeks into the league, they're like 4 or 5 EX, and that was split. So you're talking about, you pick up one of those. It's one of the bases that come in there, and that's you pay for your split beast, and you've made 7 or 8 EX easy. And split beasts were super cheap. That's not counting how cheap split beasts were last league. But which they'll probably be cheap this league too, because there's good setups for einhar farming. Anyways, that's the reason why I'm going for that. There's also good stuff that you can get out of there. You can wind up getting, one of the super big items. Like you could wind up getting a super crazy synth item, like a +1 bow. You could wind up getting, the headhunter or something like that. I've never gotten one of those things out of one of the altars, but I do see the base types in there. So that's going to be a pretty big deal to get some consistent currency. And the thing is I'm probably going to wind up keeping altars. They're probably going to wind up being a long-term farming that's going to be really good. And the reason why is because it seems like probably the mass majority of the community is going to be playing builds where those base types are going to be best in slot bases, and because of like the new crafting and stuff like that, it's they're probably going to be really valuable. Some of the people might not be going for them because of their choice of influences, but that's going to kind of be to see. If that winds up being the case and no one's using the bases, then I'd probably wind up changing it. But in general, the ritual altars normally wind up being really profitable. It's definitely going to be profitable just when they show up in your map, depending on how much of a demand there are for those specific items, is probably going to really determine whether it winds up being the thing that you pump all league or not, because it is 13 chaos. But definitely one of these things, either strong boxes, harbingers, fortune favors the brave early, or ritual altars, is going to be what you're probably going to be pumping all league, unless you get into like super juicing maps and you're doing like beyond. Um, those are pretty much the main choices on the Atlas. So you're going to wind up um, with one of those things, and it's going to be focused inside of your Atlas. For me, starting out, like I said, I'm going to be focused on all of these things, with an addition of essences. The reason why I'm going with essences is once again because of the new influence types. The essences are probably going to carry some really good value all the way through the league. If people are using the new influences, which I kind of assume that they have to, unless they super underpowered them comparatively to the old influences. Which, if that is the case, then I have a feeling like they would, like if no one's using them, they'd probably buff them in the league. Um, but let's hope that that's not the case. um, so essences, basically, because the way the new influences are working is you're putting one stat on top of it, kind of like in its own zone, and then you're going to be able to craft the rest of it without worrying about changing those, or vice versa. Um, so the best crafting methods for doing something like that is either going to be fossils, essences, or some form of metacrafting, or a combination, most likely a combination of essences or fossils to start, and then doing metacrafting to finish. Those will probably be the best crafting methods. So having those is going to be really good. There's just some really strong essences. Duplicating shrieking essences is pretty crazy. We have the essences found one tier higher. We have one guaranteed essence, which is just going to put it so that it's going to be like an every time thing. And then there's some increases in chance. And then we've got this 15% chance to have 3 additional essences. So that's really awesome. It's going to basically just every time you're in there, it's going to be some guaranteed currency. So that's going to be really nice. I think that early filling that out is going to be probably one of the most useful things that you can do. The reason why is because even if they're not good essences, you can use them as like just basically like a chaos spam roll. We can use these little small ones, and just well, I'd have to scour it. But we can use the little small ones to basically just get like a free roll on a base. So that's good. And then obviously once they get a little bit better, especially say like the essences that have lightning resistance, like these middle tier ones, screaming essence. Once you get up to those, I mean, getting up to 41% resistance is a guaranteed stat. When you're building your character, that's going to be a really good guarantee. Like you can be like, oh, I absolutely have to have this resistance on this item, so you can spam away some. And constantly collecting those up in every map is going to make it so that you wind up being in a place where you have to get a certain stat. You're going to be able to spam away at it. Also, some of the essences are probably going to have really high values early on. The essences of dread are going to have really good value, just simply because it looks like probably half of probably half of the players are going to be playing a bow build. So that guaranteed +2 to socketed bow gems on the shrieking is going to be really good. Um, so yeah, um, that's the reason why I'm definitely going to suggest the essences, because I think that early they're going to help you. Even the essences that aren't that valuable, you're going to be able to at least try to roll something, to make whatever gear it is that you have a little bit better. And then moving on to the later game, they might wind up helping you create, even better gear. And then the stuff that you don't use, you're going to be able to sell off because they're going to carry value. So I would definitely suggest all those. If you're going to do the ritual stuff, I would definitely suggest doing this one here, because you get a nice 4%, and then you get the increased tribute. Uh, Here we get the 2 additional rolls. That is going to be like the 2 absolute musts. Like if you have to cut one, if you're going to cut one, I would cut this one. Um, it The 2 absolute musts is going to be the profitable prayers for the 2 additional rolling times, and then the occult devotion. Those 2, absolutely, you have to have those 2. Those are really important. The other thing that's going to be super good is going to be the additional strong boxes. The reason why I think early this is going to be really strong, um, and it could carry into, it could be like an all game farming thing. And the reason why is because we have divination cards. You can get the boxes of divination cards. Those can wind up being super profitable. The nice thing about this is you've got a chance to get the operatives strong box, which has scarabs early on. Getting some scarabs is going to super help you out, because that's when they're going to be the most valued, and when they're going to be the hardest to buy, and all that good stuff. And then, like I said, moving on into it, you're still going to have the chances for those really big drops from the divination strong boxes. Obviously, also the cartographers strong boxes early on are going to be really strong for you, and we get duplication chances in all of these. So early on, I would definitely fill out all of the strongbox nodes, even if you wind up changing them out later, because once you get to a place where you can pump Kirac, you're going to have a guaranteed 5 strongboxes in every map for 4C investment, because you're going to get the 1 strongbox here, and then you're going to get 4 more. That's just going to be super strong. It's a lot of extra monsters, a lot of drops, a lot of chances to get something good because of the added bonuses that are in there. And then this um, tamper proof, them guaranteed rare and corrupted, which means you're gonna not have to scour them and alch them and stuff like that. That's just going to make it run smoother for you. So I would definitely suggest that early. Definitely won't regret any of those things. Some of the things that I'm not planning to do, but you could also think about as like an alternative route to go, is to just focus into something early, because there's probably going to be a lot of people that are going to be doing stuff like this. I haven't really seen anyone that's like, I haven't seen any videos, and maybe there are some, but I don't watch everything on the internet. I watch a few things that pop up. um, you could go right into focusing on something like Breach or Legion. Those would be good choices also, just simply because they just buffed those up. There's chase unique items. People are always going to be buying stones, and if there's not a lot of people farming them, it means their prices are going to be driven up. There's also those uniques that are pretty much always carry value. So that might be the route that you want to go, is just to be like, I'm just going to go straight for breaches, or straight for Legion. The thing about that is, though, is you're kind of going to wind up in a position where you're going to be um, wanting, or to maximize your profits, you're going to really be needing to have scarabs. And early, scarabs aren't going to be accessible. That's the one downside to those things, but it's also one of the reasons why people are not there's not going to be as many people going into those things, is because the Legion and the Breach are not on the Atlas, so people aren't going to be like, oh, that's definitely what I have to go for. But if you wanted to do Breach, you could still fill in some of this stuff, and then you could come down here. You could fill all the Breach stuff here. There's a lot of Breach stuff. There's another big cluster of Breach stuff here. We've got another cluster here, so you could kind of just change up how you're doing this. And fill out all of the breach stuff. That would be a good thing to do. The Legion stuff is set up kind of interestingly, because we have increased chance to get the Legion encounters, but they all come with a different typing. Um, I don't know if like one being more likely makes the other one less likely, because then it kind of, I don't know. I don't know exactly how they're doing that, because if you add a bunch of extra chance for all these other ones to appear and you add a smaller chance for the best one to appear, like, is that just actually in actuality just decreasing the chance of that one appearing? I would assume so, because if there's only one Legion thing and you're increasing the chance of the most common ones by 100% and you're increasing the least common one by 40%, then you know if that one's twice as more likely and is already more likely, then it's just magnified even more that it's more likely that one of those drop. But that's really where you get a lot of the percentage chance for them to be there. So I don't know if the best strategy here, this is really an unknown for me, whether the best strategy would just be to go for the full 5% there, and then, just hope that you get some of the better ones. Um, so yeah, there's that. Obviously, there's going to be the people that are going to be specialty einhar farming, um, because they do it every single league. Obviously, I don't really need to go over that. I don't think there's really like a big draw for putting just a few points into the einhar stuff. I think it's really going to be the most beneficial for people who are really target farming it. So I don't really have much else to say on that. I would definitely say, um, the boss farming seems like it's probably going to be one of the main focuses of this league. There's going to be people that are going to be target farming and speed mapping, which I think that that's going to be really profitable, because pretty much everyone, I think, is going to have to either start with a bosser or something kind of in between a bosser and a mapper. So not like a pure mapper. I don't think a pure mapper is really viable this league unless you're playing with a team. In that case, it would be really good because there's not going to be many people playing them. But I think it's probably going to be better to switch to a mapper once you already have a bosser. The reason why is because unless you want to have to rely on buying bossing services, you're probably going to have a really, really bad time trying to advance the Atlas, because the new Atlas now is focused around boss completions. So that kind of kills the mapper as a starter. They did, try to help mappers by certain mapping type builds, but then they also put some nerfs on them that were more focused on their single target. So I think that they actually probably hurt a lot of the popular mappers' ways of taking down single target. So I will wind up making a mapper specific character as my second build, because I think it's going to be super, super profitable once I have the Atlas complete. But I think it's a really bad choice early. So if you're planning on doing a mapper early and you don't have a friend that's a boss killer that's going to be killing your bosses and it's agreed upon, um, I think you're going to struggle there. I think the best thing for someone that's planning on playing by themselves and wants to rely on themselves to play like a character that's kind of in between, something that's going to be really good at boss killing but can still clear well. I think that those are going to be the characters that do the best this league. The explosive arrow is my personal pick. Um, I had wanted or planned to play a Frostblade character again. That worked out really well, but they completely killed um, the the way that the damage is really getting boosted up on that, which was the Hydrosphere. That that build's basically dead because it just kills off so much of the damage. Um, So, I mean, later on in the game, something like that would be viable, but the early game is just going to be too hard. There's too big of a nerf to it to get that smooth progression that it had last league. And that's true with a lot of builds that were using that to chain. Um, moving on, the stuff that I'm going to wind up filling out later, that other stuff's going to get filled out first, but this stuff is definitely going to get filled out. And the reason why is because this is going to give us an increased chance for those big drops from the boss fights. Getting further on into the game, this will be my first tree. This is actually how I'm going to set up my tree. And this is kind of just focused on getting the most out of each kill and then some bonuses to boss kills. Um, that I think are really important. Another boss kill one that I think is really important. Everyone should take early, but then can get rid of. But then you can get rid of after like the early game. Where is it? Um, well, this stuff could get gotten rid of after early, but would still probably be good. Where is it? No, those are. So, oh, all right, so actually this would be changed out. I don't know why I moved those points down. So so early on, which points? I don't know. I have to remove the points somewhere. I don't remember how I had it set up. I've been changing around. So early, I would definitely go for these points here. These are gonna be really good, like super early, and the reason why is because increased chance for uniques, increased rarity of boss drops, and then uh, 80% increased chance to drop a faded unique item. So I think that's going to be really helpful super early when a lot of those items haven't dropped yet and everyone's looking for them. Obviously, depending on the market for those items is going to depend on whether that stays as a valuable option. That's probably going to be something to keep your eye on in the market. Obviously, once the market gets flooded with all of that stuff, then it's not going to be worth as much. So then probably would be a good time to drop those points. Um, but yeah, definitely keep these points early till you get finished with your progression. Um, I would say to keep these points down here. Once you get into the high tier maps, that's when you're really going to want to start filling out all this stuff. And you're probably going to want to think about like, which one of these mechanics is it that I like the most that I want to keep. And then you're going to want to take more points out of the rest of the tree. And you're probably going to want to fill in other things um, like the stuff for the Exarch and the Black Star to start maximizing on those kills. I don't know how profitable that stuff's going to be. It could be that stuff's going to be like super super profitable and it's going to be worthwhile respecing and stuff and for versus where when you're mapping versus when you're not mapping. But probably if you're doing a lot of boss killing, a lot of mapping, you're going to pretty much have to point into that stuff to maximize your currency gains. Um, the reason why I like this stuff and I have this stuff highlighted was to remind me to bring your attention to this stuff. Um, these are the extra chances for Exalt Orbs, Awaken Gem, and increased chance to drop a Conqueror map. So, and that's just unique bosses have 25% increased chance to drop Conqueror map. That's super dope. Then we have Conquer Maps increased pack size, which is going to give you more chances to get the influences. I think this is going to be super, super important early because as soon as you start doing these, the thing is everyone knows all the influence stuff that they like, that they go to. That's going to be the stuff that people go to probably for sure. And a lot of the items, they're going to be the same items that they were last league basically. So everyone's going to still want those same influences. It's the same thing with the exalted orbs. Exalted orbs for the conquerors are going to be more valuable because there's going to be less opportunities for people to get those influences. Obviously, also, there's only going to be so many of the correct bases that drop with the right influence. So that's going to be even more of a reason to want these things. These up here, I think are all really good because you're going to get an extra 4% chance for unique map bosses to drop the Elder Shaper maps. So that alone makes all of this worthwhile. We also get extra influence drop chances, so that's going to be really good too. Once again, as I explained about the influences, that's going to be pretty money. So that's pretty much my take on it. Um, Once again, I would say you're pretty much gonna have to maximize currency, start pumping the Fortune Favors the Brave early. Pay attention to how close you're getting to these other things, the ambush, the harbinger, the ritual. Ritual is obviously the last one, so depending on how quickly you complete those bonus tasks is really going to determine whether it's worthwhile for you to immediately start focusing on that stuff, or if you want to put the points into other stuff early. Me personally, like I said, I'm probably going to go for those bossing area kind of last because those drops don't start in till higher in the map tiers, red tier maps. So those are going to be kind of like my last focus. But I definitely am going to want to make sure that I have my ambush and harbinger set up by the time that I get those unlocked so that I can get the most out of them. I'll probably honestly wind up dropping harbingers. That's kind of my feeling that I'll probably wind up dropping first when I go into more boss nodes. Ritual is probably going to be something that I keep all league, just simply because you have the chance for like super big items. And I've always liked having that on my watchstone. So that's kind of my feeling there. And I can really only pick either strong boxes or harbingers. We'll have to see the value on the harbinger currency versus the value on just what I'm getting out of strong boxes. That'll really determine which one I want to keep. Um, but it looks to me like the strong boxes are probably going to be the stronger thing, just simply because I think that we had more buffs um, with the combination of the Atlas passives that we had before, combined with all the stuff that we had on the stones. I think that it's probably the strong boxes are just in a stronger place. Also, you get two harbingers versus four strong boxes, and strong boxes, are just really fast. Once you're built, you just pop them, they pop, and then you move on. Um, so I think that that'll probably run smoother um, in the late game. When I have to take extra points, it's probably what I'll drop my points from. Also, there's kind of like a little stretch there that I don't have to run. If I do that, I can go a different way on the map. Anyways, I hope that this is helpful. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know. There'll be more content to come. Thanks for watching. Peace.